Hey, Mike, what do Kelly Slater and PT have in common?
I don't know. They're both world champs?
Nope, they both own Endless Summer box set.
Oh my God, rad. You guys, you can get it too. The link's in the show notes. Welcome back, everybody, to the QuiverCast. This is Mike, your host, and this is all brought to you by YourAudioLegacy.com and QuiverBuilder.com. And please check out my other podcast, The Stinky Booties, I do with my buddy, Billy. Let's roll. All right. Hello, everybody. This is Mike here with the QuiverCast, and we have a very, very special guest today from down the street in Carlsbad. We're in Carlsbad, California, with Mr. Ted Robinson. How are you doing, Ted?
Hi, Mike. I'm good. How about yourself?
Good.
Good.
You surf lately?
I surf every day. It's funny when people ask me that, too. I get a chuckle out of it. I think that it's, when people ask me that, I'm like, okay. But my whole life, I've basically surfed every single day of my life, other than I'm either sick or I need a day to recover. So out of 365 days, I would go about 350 of the year that I'm in the water.
Wow.
It's just a huge priority for me. I think I put a higher priority on it than anybody I know. And what it does for me mentally, physically, spiritually, it's incredibly important. So I feel very blessed and fortunate to be by the ocean. And I've competed a lot in my life, but the ocean means so much more to me now than when I used to compete. Now it's kind of a job.
Okay. So, that's a lot to talk about there. So, first off, do you feel obligated to surf? Like, you don't feel right after, or how do you feel?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Obligated, because I know how good it makes me feel. Mm-hmm. So there's an occasional day where I will take a day off for various reasons, and that might be, one, I don't feel very good. Two, I'm just exhausted. Three, crowds or something. But I feel I'm doing myself a disservice if I don't enter the ocean every day. And that could be for 5 minutes, 50 minutes, an hour and a half, whatever type of, crap that is. But I do feel very obligated to be in the ocean every day. And I feel like I'm a little off if I don't go in the ocean that day.
Okay. What kind of craft are you riding? Like, what kind of boards are you riding? Is it always surfboards, or is it other things?
No, I ride everything. And I'd like to think of myself of a older version of, like, I really like what Kai Lenny does. He enjoys the ocean tremendously with everything, wind sports to hydrofoiling to supping. And here in California, I do the same thing. I ride everything that you can ride on a wave. So shortboard, longboard, sup, hydrofoil, prone foil, sup foil. I even wing foil when it's windy enough here, getting into that. And then we go, I just ride what the day calls for. I have a ski where, if there's some good waves, I want to get away from crowds, we'll do step-offs or toe-ats or toe foiling or... for me, it's just about the experience of being in the ocean, mixing it up, challenging myself, my stance, my crafts, trying to understand, learn, and, master the crafts, each one of them as much as I can, because I've been surfing forever, basically, and I want to make sure that I'm always challenging myself, always learning, always improving. And that's pretty much why I ride something different every day. Okay.
So if you're doing a foil, is that considered a surf session?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Riding a hydrofoil, out of all the aspects you can ride on a wave, it's the hardest of all of them. It's incredibly challenging. It was the hardest learning curve to ever, ride a swell. Okay. And that's the one that I respect the most out of anything. That's the one that you get the most exercise with, because you can take off on a tiny little swell, and you can pump into 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 waves, and sometimes my average ride is, a minute and a half.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Leg burner.
Yeah. So the hydrofoiling is incredible, and I've been doing it about 5 years. And that's the one I'm the most intrigued with, because you never really master hydrofoiling, and that's something that Laird Hamilton has said. It's like you don't ever master it. So it's so fun to me, especially when it's 1 to 2 foot and high tide and mushy. It's made small waves incredibly fun for me again. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you sometimes switch it up to do a couple different boards in one session, or maybe like an afternoon, evening session?
Yeah. To me, my funnest session is if I can ride a couple different boards, 2, 3, 4 boards. I can borrow boards from friends.
Yeah.
I love trading with my friends who are out in the water.
Oh, right.
Sometimes I'll bring a couple boards down to the beach, but ideally, you see a buddy out in the water, or you go out with somebody and they have a board that you're interested in, and you guys switch for 2, 3, 4 waves, and that is like the funnest time for me that I'm going to have, is to ride 2, 3, 4 different boards, 5 different boards. And again, it goes back to learning, understanding, trying to improve, and ride a craft that you don't know and try to ride it well. So I love the challenge of doing that and the different feeling.
Okay. Yeah, sounds interesting. I mean, it sounds like a lot of work. That you enjoy?
Yeah, I enjoy it, and it's all about the challenge. And
Is it?
Yeah, I don't view it as work at all.
Okay.
I just to me, big things for me are learning and improving each and every day. Those are huge for me.
Okay.
And then riding those different boards, it sets out the challenge. It's like, okay, how can you learn what this thing does? These fins, this design, this rocker, this outline, blah,
So you're always
blah, blah.
thinking.
Yeah. I'm obsessed with surf crafts boards. I always have been.
Okay.
Anything that has to do with riding waves or the swells, I'm incredibly interested in, and I always will be forever.
And then have you had a board of whatever surf, let's say surfboard or something, that did not work? Seems like you make it work.
Yeah, so my theory on that is you can take any surfboard, and if you have a lot of enthusiasm and if you're just really stoked to be in the ocean riding that board, you can make the thing work. Obviously, some boards work better than others, but I think it all depends on your enthusiasm level for riding that board and making it work. But I've rode a ton of dogs out there. I've rode a ton of great boards and a ton in the middle. But I've come to the conclusion that you can make pretty much any board work if you want to bad enough.
Okay. And then in the 50 years of you surfing, right? You said 50 years?
At least.
Okay.
I'd go 52, 53 since
Right.
since I think I was about 5 or 6 when I started surfing.
Okay. Is there a period of boards you preferred? Like, do you remember like a decade or let's say a few years where you had like a quiver boards that are just like on fire?
No, I don't think so. I mean,
Okay.
when I started off on single fins, big clunky single fins, and that taught me how to use the rail and to surf properly. Watching some kids nowadays on some of the boards, I think that they would benefit by learning how to properly surf a single fin. And no, there's not one particular time period where I think that was a better time period. I grew up on a lot of twin fins as well as quads, but now I'm riding those again. So
I was kind of gonna ask you that.
yeah, I'm riding a lot of twin fins again, and my quiver's kind of morphing into way more twins than normal.
Really?
I'm phasing out tri-fins just because they just like I just don't like them as much right now, and there's a time and place for every board, every fin design, and this and that. But I like a tri-fin when it's hollow, punchy, good shape, and really proper. And unfortunately, around here in Southern California, it just doesn't get like that often.
Okay. And then, well, with that being said, is it let's say 80s twin fin or something like that. Not, what kind of twin fin are you talking about? Like not a fish or a fish? Or
I have fishes.
Okay.
I have multiple
Just
fishes.
general.
Yeah, I have all kinds of different fishes, all kinds of different twin fins, performance, mid-lengths, twins.
How many boards you have? Do you know?
No, I don't.
Okay.
But
take a guess.
I'll go about 40.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But the thing is with me is if a board's not getting used, I trade it out, I sell it, I get rid of it. So my boards always stay in the rotation, and I typically ride a different board every single day. And if they don't see ocean for a while, I'll ditch them. You know, if they're not in my rotation, I get rid of them.
Do you have any old boards from the 80s or 90s?
I'm not.
They're gone.
Yeah, I'm not a collector, and I don't have room for them.
Okay.
And I don't have any desire to ride boards from the 80s, and seeing photos of them is cool, but they've evolved. You know, shapes, construction, glass, blanks, flexes. They've evolved so much that I don't have any desire to ride like the boards back then at all. And I've tried some old boards from the 80s, and I'm like, wow, this is brutal.
Okay, so technology and shapers and knowing knowledge, boards are way better today.
Way better, 10 times better. It's unbelievable how fast it's evolving.
Even though they're similar twin fins, they're different.
Completely different, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and they just don't. They don't compare to how many cool shapes and again technology. When I think of technology now, one in particular technology that I really like is dark arts technology. So it's a carbon glass shop. It's not fiberglass. It's a stringerless blank that's vacuum bagged, and I really am enjoying a lot of those on short boards, twin fins, foil boards, and I see a lot of benefits. They're stronger, they're lighter, they're fast, they're snappy. So I'm really enjoying that technology right now.
Okay, and then what are all your boards? Are some like poly and some are like epoxy?
Yeah, typically I like to go epoxy and waves that are, I don't know, shoulder high and below.
Yeah, light.
And anything that's got a lot of power, I like to switch to PU.
Okay.
But yeah, it just depends on my mood and the conditions. Typically epoxies they don't ride that great in choppy surf. So I'd say I'm 50-50 on PU versus epoxy on what I ride.
Really? Okay.
Maybe a little bit more skewed towards epoxy since they're a little bit lighter and a little more performance and just for the surf that we have around here in San Diego.
Yep. And then what about like any single fins? You riding single fins?
No.
You don't have any?
No, I got like one. It's a 12.6 Rusty that I've had around for 20 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
It's a big board.
I think that's the only. Well, I got a couple nose rider longboard single fins, but I don't really care for single fins that much, honestly. There's a time and place for them, but they're not that much in my rotation. Okay.
You're a little older now. We're moving on in age, and you're not old by any means.
Try not to be.
Yeah. Well, that's what my point is. You're surfing better than most people in our age bracket, or way better. Like, how are you keeping so young and healthy?
So that's a huge priority for me, is to surf well at an older age.
Okay.
So one, keeping me healthy is the ocean every day.
Yeah.
And that's, mentally and physically very important. And I do a routine in the morning, stretching, rolling, bands, and I do... I'll ride the Carver skateboard for a little bit before I paddle out to get everything warmed up and loosened up, and then I'll go ride at Switchfoot. And then usually surf for an hour and a half, and then going Switchfoot on the surfboard or the foil, whatever, is really important to me. And then when I come in, if I have the time, I do hop in an ice bath. I have an ice bath, in my backyard, and I do that almost every single day, and I'll go in that for 3 to 5 minutes.
What does that do?
It helps with recovery and just inflammation, gets the blood circulating. It's become pretty popular as far as some top athletes going in it. And I have a jacuzzi, so I'll go in the ice and then I'll go in jacuzzi for 5 minutes each, and helps the body stay young and active. And just as far as staying healthy, just trying to eat right, trying to keep the body moving, keep the mind and body challenged, like I said, on surfboards and my stance on surfing, and just trying to keep the right mind frame and staying positive no matter what.
And how do you feel, like you personally, how do you feel you're surfing?
I feel great, and I realized at an older age is that you got to put a lot back into your body if you want to surf good at a higher level. And for me, one of my goals is to try to surf better than my friend Switchfoot, and that's a big it's a big challenge. But I mean, I'm up for the challenge, and when I do ride a surfboard or whatever. Fish, longboard, sub, anything, it's 70% of it switchfoot. And
really?
Yeah, because I'm, at 59, I know my regular surfing is on the backslide, but I do know my switchfoot surfing for the next 10, 15 years is on the upslide. And that's so rad. Exciting. And for me, it's such a great challenge to know that my switchfoot surfing is getting better each and every day. I'm learning, I'm improving, and those are huge parts for me.
All right. So you're naturally a goofy foot.
Correct.
Okay. So you switch foot, okay? So now you're going to go right and you're going to face the wave. Do you ever switch foot backside?
Correct, I do.
You do?
I do a lot. And
really? Interesting.
I tell people
That seems so hard.
It is. It's a real challenge, and it's going switchfoot facing the wave is one thing. Going switchfoot backside not facing the wave is a whole different ball game. Talk about a challenge, and that is a real huge challenge going backside switchfoot. But I'm just as dedicated to going backside switch as I am frontside.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And any of your friends you surf with do the same? Or everyone look at you like you're crazy? Like,
I have a really good friend of mine who's a retired hockey player, and he and I talk all the time.
Okay.
And he's one of the reasons I do go switchfoot so much, because he understands the benefits of it. And I'm seeing guys like Kai Lenny really understanding the benefits. And I tell people all the time. And a lot of times the answer I get is like, well, I could never do that. I'm like, well, if you tell yourself that, you're right.
But mind over matter.
Right. And I am a huge proponent of going switchfoot surfing because basically, if you go switchfoot today, you'll be a better athlete tomorrow.
Okay. Well, what point on the wave do you decide you're going to switch foot or you're going to go regular? Or I was just goofy foot. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
So I decide. A lot of times I decide if I have a steep critical takeoff, I'm just going to stand up my normal stance goofy foot. If it's a mellow, easy roll in, I'll hop up switch foot.
Okay.
And then sometimes I'll get up to my regular stance, and halfway through the ride, I'll switch. I'll switch my stance halfway through the ride. I'm trying to get the body, the mind, the brain balanced and create this atmosphere that can help you expand, learn, and improve.
Wow. All right. I don't even know how it just seems so interesting. Okay, what about your leash? Does it get caught up? Or you go no leash?
I usually don't wear a leash.
Yeah, okay.
And I have nothing against leashes, and I'll wear them if there's consequences for my board.
Okay.
But I normally don't wear them, and I don't mind swimming after my board occasionally. Yeah, exactly. So, it's harder when you're going switchfoot with a leash on. It's just, it gets tangled up.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Interesting. It's a lot to think about and break down there.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you started surfing, why did you get into competitive surfing? Was there a reason?
Good question. And I moved to the Manhattan Beach. I moved to the beach when I was like 5 or 6, saw the ocean.
Yep.
And I immediately knew that was my calling, and that's what I needed to be doing. And my whole life was all of a sudden instantly decided I need to be revolved around the ocean. So I got a styrofoam bodyboard at the toy store downtown Manhattan Beach, and started standing up on that, and basically snapped that within a day. I was devastated. It broke. I was freaking out that the thing snapped in half.
Yeah.
But I just knew right away what my calling was, and it was to be surfing, and on top of that to compete and make a living and travel the world. And I got my best experience through traveling the world tour for 7 years versus unfortunately through high school, my mind and my head was in other places, such as, becoming, what my career was going to be, a professional surfer. So school was not easy for me, and I was very distracted the whole time, and it's just I'm not an academic person.
Yeah.
So I just knew at an early age that professional surfing and surfing every day and my whole life was going to be revolved around surfing.
Okay, so in order to do that, you had to make money being a competitive surfer. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Or is that, am I?
Yeah. Back then in the 80s when I was doing the world tour, there was probably 30 events on tour.
Yep.
And there was not much money on it and limited sponsorship. So there was a lot of pressure on me and a lot of my friends to get results in order to travel to the next stop on tour.
Wow.
And I was pretty motivated by that alone. It's like, I needed to do good just to get to the next stop on tour.
Did you find yourself ever not getting the result you needed, being stuck or being close to being stuck or starving or anything like that?
Yeah. I myself had some hard times, and I got support and backed up by my dad and parents, and just cool. It's just like, hey, we'll help you out, pay us back when you can. But it was like the tour back then was nothing like it is now.
Right.
And now they've got it really good. They got 11 events. We were doing 30 with just the stops on tour were not for they're not for good ways. They're for viewing and popularity of people watching and contest participation from fans. But yeah, it's a lot different now. It's way better structured now.
Okay, so actually, but don't you think there should be at least a couple venues where fans can come and watch?
Absolutely, there still is. Brazil's. Brazil's happening this week, and that's all fan base right there. Yeah. Anyone and everyone. And Brazil, it's beach break, and it's not one of the best waves in the world. Where they call the Dream Tour, which they just had G-Land and El Salvador, and it's now we're in a day and age of electronics and screens and everything. So
instantaneous news.
And the US Open and the OP Pro were great for fan participation,
yes.
but the waves were always crap.
Usually.
Yeah, so it's a trade-off. I would rather watch good waves and not be there. I'd actually rather watch a webcast on a screen anyway than deal with the crowd and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But there is an element to have the energy of the crowd and everybody participating, cheering on their countrymen or their fans. So that part is missed, and I do like that part. It's just you just don't see it that much anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I wish there was a place. I think every continent, well, that's my opinion, it doesn't matter. But let's say your hockey player friend. How would he feel playing in front of an arena with no one there? Or like on the rink? Yeah, I mean, and these sports athletes just had to experience that with COVID and empty arenas. So, how weird was it?
And it's it's not the same, obviously.
Yeah.
So yeah, you do miss the energy of the crowds and cheering and the heckling and all that, but. Yeah, I'm still the purist who wants to see really good surfing in really good waves, and you're going to have to give one to get the other.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, it's just.
So in your past, have you ever had a heat where it's like you were drawing off the energy of the crowd?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, for sure. And when you have fans cheering you on, that you just shift into another gear.
Okay.
And the urgency and the excitement and the you really get amped up when people are cheering you on.
Yeah.
It's a whole nother level.
And the disappointment if you don't make it.
There's a lot of stress.
That would suck too.
Yeah, a lot of pressure and stress goes with that if you have a lot of people that have shown up that have drove a far distance to go cheer you on, and then you blow it. So sometimes it works against you too. Yeah.
And then anything about competitive surfing that you loved? Do you still watch it today?
I watch all the WCTs, the Championship Tour events.
Okay.
I watch all those unless it's going to interfere with my sleep.
Yeah.
And I'll even watch a Challenger series.
Yeah, Challenger's good now.
Yeah, now they're good because they mean something. I won't watch a QS.
Ever?
Well, no, if it's convenient, I'm not doing anything. But for me, it's really important for me to stay active, busy, keeping the body moving, keeping the mind. And
sitting on the couch is not is not the answer.
Well, hey, if it's 7 o'clock at night and you just had dinner for an hour or two, sure, I'm in. Sign me up. But I love seeing this strategy. I think that there's some things in professional surfing that need to be worked on or altered or fixed. And
what are those?
One of the things was I was just watching El Salvador last week.
Yep.
And pretty sure it was Gabriel against Griffin Colapinto. And there wasn't, I don't know, it's one of those. It was either quarterfinals, semifinals, but there wasn't a wave ridden in 12, 13, 14 minutes.
Yeah.
And as a surf fan, I've lived in surfing competition. I've been involved in it my whole life. As a fan, I'm a hardcore fan, and to not watch somebody ride a wave for 15 minutes and just listen to the commentators trying to fill dead air, to me, there's a problem with that. And I'm a big fan of, I want to see surfing go to wave pools that are big and exciting, twice the size of Kelly Slater's pool, with unpredictability and knowing there's going to be a wave ridden every 2, 3, 4 minutes.
Okay.
And I do think that it will get there someday, but I think it's super important that wave pools be built with a sense of consequences for the surfers. Right now, everyone's complaint is that it's like you're doing the same thing, but waves can be programmed to be different, unpredictable, and I do know that they do need to be bigger and more powerful, where there's consequences to be had, because sports, the fans love to see when there's consequences to be had.
Okay. Are you talking about Kelly's wave in particular when they ran the CT events there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
and I've surfed that wave 5 times. It's one of the best experiences of my life, and I can go on all day about how much I like the Kelly Slater surf wrench.
Yeah.
But I do know for surfing to get to that next level, it needs to be more than just that.
Yeah.
And I could see a tour someday where it's half of those wave pools and half the ocean. And people like to see the strategy. Well, I like to see action. I like to see, I want to see waves being ridden.
Yeah.
And when they're doing those overlapping heats, that's great. There's 4 surfers in the water. Now, as a surf fan, we get to see more action.
Okay. With the Kelly wave too, and you're talking about the CT events and stuff. When they did the longboarding one last year, the longboarders, they look way good on that wave.
They look great. They look
almost
great
better
out
than
there.
a shortboarder.
Yeah, so
It looked like they'd have more fun at least.
They surfed that wave unbelievable. I was super impressed with how good they surfed that wave.
Yeah.
But what's cool about watching the shortboarders there, even the best in the world, including Kelly, they don't have that thing completely figured out and dialed with a jersey on. The added pressure. Anyone could ride that wave, but most people can't ride that thing technically great. So that's the draw to me. It is exciting because you get all the best surfers in the wave, and it's kind of a perfect wave, but they can't surf it perfect. And that to me is cool, because it's like the U.S. Open just last weekend. That's a challenging tournament, and it brings them back down to earth. So if you have this easy wave that's predictable, it gets stale and boring. But the surf ranch is actually a really hard wave to surf excellent.
Okay.
Anyone can surf it okay. Most people can't surf it excellent.
Okay. Who do you think surfs it the best? Besides let's put Kelly out of the
I'd say
mix.
Felipe and Gabriel are the two guys.
Gabriel looks good on that thing.
Yeah. I think those two guys have it more figured out than most. I'd say Kelly, Felipe, and Gabriel have that wave figured out the most.
But to be fair, they're probably the best surfers in the world, too.
They're the best surfers in the world.
So it makes sense, right?
Yeah, but I do know that they've had a lot of time there, and they've put in their time there.
Okay.
And to me, I watched that very intently. I watched pretty much every wave of that event.
Okay.
And to me, they're a cut above everybody else. At least Felipe and Gabriel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else about the WSL needs to change? To make it more
Yeah, what I was going to say earlier, I do think that the priority needs to be established before the two surfers paddle out.
How do you do that?
Flip a coin.
Oh, okay.
And then
That's
the
kinda
next
cool.
time they match up,
Uh-huh.
maybe the flip goes to the other surfer just to even it out. But the problem that we're seeing sometimes when there's no established priority at first is the jockeying, and they out jockey themselves out of position, away from the waves, and then us, the viewers, are screwed, seeing nothing.
Yeah.
Them, who's gonna buckle, break first, and paddle for a crappy waves to at least establish a priority system. So that I think needs to be figured out, and maybe it's, I don't know, flip a coin, draw cards, straws. I don't know. I really don't know, but I do think priority should be established before they paddle out, at least
idea.
so we can start riding waves right off the bat instead of I don't want to watch them jockeying
Right.
for 10, 15 minutes. Half the heat's gone, and
Right.
we're sitting there watching nothing.
And events, 8 to 10, 12 hour long.
Yeah.
I mean, and they're not even done.
Yeah, exactly.
Just starting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's an interesting point. Anything else about WSL? Do you think they're doing a good job? Have they changed the format? Do you like how they had the cut?
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. I've been thinking about that a lot. But back to me, the viewer, the guy who's consuming their time on that event, I do like the cut. I'd like to see it get, I know as a half year cut. And the thing it's a bummer is the tour rookies that have got on tour, they don't get a full year to figure it out. But on the benefit side, they do get a chance to get right back on tour. If they're good enough, they're established enough through the Challenger Series, they should be able to get right back on tour. So I'm actually okay with it, and I've struggled with that whole cutoff, the mid-year cutoff thing, but ultimately I think I'm fine with it, because if you're that good, like a Leo Ferravante or somebody like that, you're going to get right back on tour. Yes, you missed the back half of the CT, but if you're all that, you'll be right back on the next year. So you're technically only missing a half of a year.
Okay, and then let's go back to Ted the competitor, not Ted today.
The viewer?
Not the viewer.
The competition viewer?
And we realize you're the same guy, just in different groups and different ages. But, okay, as a competitor, how would you have felt?
I feel bad when they did that a while back ago.
Yeah,
when they did the cut, whenever that was.
I don't know.
Guys like Tanner Gudauskas and all these guys, or maybe it's Pat Gudauskas I don't know. But anyway,
yeah, gotcha.
I felt really bad for those guys, but this structure I think is actually way better because it's more of a fair chance. But the only problem is just not a full year to prove themselves, the rookies on tour.
So you got to prove yourself in the Challenger Series.
Yeah. It's just obviously more of a grind, but I don't feel bad for those guys that have to do.
Did you have to do trials?
Yeah.
So how many were you always doing the trials, or were you?
No, we had to do trials to get into the top 33.
Okay.
And then there was seeding from 16th.
Okay.
Like 1 through 16, and then 16 through 33. So you either seeded in the round of 33 or the round of 17. But we had to grind it. We had to work our asses off. We had to travel like crazy. Our accommodations were suspect at best a lot of times. We had to fend for ourselves. We didn't have managers. We didn't have any sports, team or coaches, or we had ourselves, and you were taught to learn how to grow up really quick.
Is that managing your own money? Everything. Airline tickets?
Everything. Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, we were responsible for taking care of ourselves, but it made me, grow up quick and understand what it took to survive, get along, and try to thrive on tour. But the World Tour experience I did for 7 years, I would never trade it for anything.
Right.
But
sure.
but yeah, we had to literally do everything ourselves, which is fine.
Yeah.
So I just think the guys now, they've got it pretty good.
Okay, and then what about, did you ever have thoughts of being like, I'm done with this? Like, just fried?
Yeah, so I did the tour for 7 years, and I found myself not wanting to travel anymore, go back on tour. And I just I've been to Australia like 27 times. I've been to Japan 14, 15 times. I've been to Hawaii 50 times, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
When it came to start up a new year, I didn't want to pack up and go, and I wasn't feeling it, wasn't into it. I knew it was just time to let it go.
Mm-hmm.
And I got some decent mid-20 finishes results at the end of the year, but I knew it was time to stop when I didn't want to go and travel anymore.
Yeah. Okay. And then the PSAA was happening though too, right? Is that the same period?
Yeah, the PSAA. I did that before I did the tour, and I did it after.
Okay.
And that was great because you didn't have to travel too far. You didn't have to, go too far. There was some decent money. And that was pretty cool. And then after I got done with the tour, did that for a little bit. Got a job working for Body Glove. It was my sponsor at the time, doing marketing promotions, handling the team. And then stumbled on the longboarding. So I actually started competing on the longboard and did some Bud Surf tours. And then I started doing the WLL, World Longboard Association. Ended up traveling again. And I just took my competitive skills and applied it to a longboard. And I think that my body type fit a longboard pretty good.
Yeah, you're ripping on that thing.
Yeah, thanks. I got some good success on longboard and kind of stretched out my career in sponsorship through longboarding, and again started traveling to all these places, Reunion Island, all over. And it's like, wow, okay, well at least I'm, being successful at longboarding while I'm doing and making a little bit of money and doing something different. And
were you switching your boards up at the time? Or are you sticking solely on longboard?
That's looking back at everything. That's like the one thing that I look back on. I wish I would have changed. A little bit of regret there that I was just riding longboards at that time. It was probably for 5 years, and I look back at it now and go, wow, I wish I would have rode everything like I do now.
Why?
But just for the versatility and to have I like having a good mix on everything. So I didn't have the versatility. I did ride all kinds of different longboards back then, but I did make a living, a lot of it, riding the tail and some nose riding. And I was able to, throw the board around, but there was waves that I was riding longboards in that, were meant for guns.
Yeah.
And meant for performance surfing. Spot in particular by my house in El Porto called Hammerland. It's a barreling beach break that just pounds, and here I am on a longboard. Yeah, it's just... So I look back at some of those years and went, I should have been riding some other stuff, but it was also, I was making a living, and it was my craft, and that's what I was making a living out of at that time. So I don't have that much regret, but I kind of wish I would have had more variety and mix like I do now.
Okay. So what do you think, were the longboards different than they are today? The high performance longboards? That's what you were doing, like the high performance stuff, right?
So a long time ago, Henry Ford at Stewart, he said, hey Ted, I'll trade you out a longboard for one of your used shortboards. I'm like, okay, sure. It was like in the summertime in El Porto, Manhattan Beach, and it was like 1 foot. And he put me on a Jeff Kramer model, and I'm like, wow, these things turn incredible. They're maneuverable. They work insane. And Manhattan, El Porto in the summertime gets pretty rough, so it made small waves fun again. And I think they're quite a bit different now in the sense that I was able to ride a performance longboard back then that was it was great off the tail, and I got a little bit of nose riding in, but I think there was a lot of animosity and complaints about some of my fellow competitors that like, hey, Ted wasn't riding the nose long enough or enough, and hanging 10 enough and this and that. But I do think that the boards are geared towards trim, single fin, nose ride, bigger, and not so much tail performance surfing than it was back then for some, from some stage.
Okay. So now it's kind of gone back and forth in the WSL, or this is a pro longboarding, where they've kind of, I don't know, it doesn't seem like now they've changed the last year or so. Hasn't it happened like the last 2 years maybe? Where they're going back to more traditional surfing?
Yeah, I'd say it's,
Just recently.
Yeah, I'd say in the last couple of years.
What are your thoughts on that? You have thoughts, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Pretty wave riding, board riding, surfing is, I don't care how it's done as long as it's, I appreciate style and trim and form. And as far as longboarding, I think it's incredible what they're doing right now. I think switchfoot is really a big part of longboarding competition now, which is great. I think that the nose style trim is a huge part of it. And I think there was a time where, I think the judges did like seeing a 9-foot longboard do, vertical surfing and stuff that normally wasn't seen. And I think Colin McPhillips was another guy who kind of utilized that and made both the nose riding and the tail surfing work really well on a longboard. Another guy, Bo Young, comes to mind, and some other guys like that.
Okay. So how do they... I don't know. I'm kind of bored watching the longboard. Me personally, over the last few years, how do they get both best of both worlds? Is that impossible? Do you understand my question?
Yeah. I don't think it's impossible, but I think sometime it might go back to where there'll be more performance in longboarding.
Okay.
Right now, it's big single fins that they just want to see you on the nose, and some really pretty switchfoot cross stepping and stuff like that. But I think it will go back to at some point it will go back to a mix of tail surfing, radical surfing, and some vertical, as well as some nose riding. But yeah, it all kind of changes and comes around, goes around. It's kind of cyclical.
Okay, what about like Taylor Jensen? Like he did that Superman air at the Waco a few years back. Did you see that?
Yeah, it was incredible. It was all time. It's probably
Is that good longboarding? What are your?
Well, it's progressive.
Progressive.
It's very progressive, and it's one of the coolest things I've ever seen done on a longboard. I really admire his longboarding, his style. He's the total package to me because he can do it all. He can nose ride. He's got power. He's got style. He's got flow. That guy is an incredible longboarder that can do everything.
That's the guy you're looking for. Okay. So the problem is judging, right? Like the judges have a criteria they have to follow. I don't know how to fix that either. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Because you've done it all, you're one of the rare guys that have been on both tours.
Yeah.
And competed competitively, longboard and shortboard.
Yeah.
Your insights.
So, yeah, it's funny. The judges. I mean, the judges are human, and
there you go.
Right now, what I'm seeing on the WSL and shortboarding is what's being so heavily rewarded is the combination when you combo up a turn effortless into another effortless turn kind of seamlessly without any busy work in between.
Yep.
I'm seeing that heavily rewarded, whereas in the past that wasn't something that was so important to the judges. But I kind of understand, but I kind of don't, because as a viewer, I want to see the most radical and technical with style incorporated surfing that I can see. And if a wave combination allows the surfer to come off the bottom, off the top, seamlessly, hey, great, but not all waves allow that. So a lot of times the wave can actually dictate the score when it allows that. And I think you'll see judging on shortboard and longboard evolve and change and go back to other, other disciplines.
And then so I can't think of a way, but I can think of Gabriel does it, Italo does it, and Felipe does it, where they're just driving down the line just to launch a huge air.
Yeah, so I don't want
no turns in, nothing.
Right, and I don't want to see that. I want to see beautiful, stylish surfing technically with maneuvers in between. I don't want to see a whole wave get wasted.
Just
not
flying
wasted.
down the line.
Right, pump. But, judges are still rewarding that sometimes too, where if the aerial is radical enough and if it's technical enough, they will reward that. But as a viewer, I want to see multiple turns and then build up a little speed, and the wave should supply enough speed, if it's surfed correctly, to do the same thing as these guys when they're pumping down the line the whole wave. So I don't want to see that. I want to see a variety of everything.
Okay.
But I want to see the highest, most technical air possible at the same time. So.
Do you do airs?
I actually tried one on Sunday. That was the first time I tried one.
Ever?
No.
Recently?
I used to do airs all the time,
Okay,
and I haven't attempted an air in probably 5 years. But I was riding a wave, a pretty good wave on Sunday. and the section was just screaming at me to do a little air, just a little bunny hop straight air, and almost made it.
Rad.
But I told myself probably 5, 6, 7 years ago to not go in the air in sports anymore, whether that's snowboarding or anything else that I do, because that's when I know you get hurt. So I'm not willing to risk that to get injured and stay out of the water.
Okay, actually that comes up a new question. You not being a competitive surfer, you just being an everyday surfer now, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Do you surf differently than you used to? I mean, the obvious answer is probably yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I surf the way I want to surf, not to where the judges wanted to see you surf and how the criteria was structured at that time.
Okay.
So whenever I stopped competing, I felt free, and I felt like I'm going to surf the way I want to surf, no matter how it is, and how stupid or silly or switch foot or backwards or do whatever I want, and not be told how to surf or what I'm going to get scored on or worried about that. So, I did compete for 20 some odd years, local domestic tours and the world tour, and man, surfing to me, and I don't want to discourage anybody, but surfing to me, when I stopped competing, meant a lot of different things to me, and it changed my life and my values towards surfing, because as a competitor, it was kind of more of a job, but, now it's just pure pleasure, fitness, fun, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
So the question is, was competitive surfing all the value back in the day? Like, is that how you're always thinking?
Yeah.
As a competitor?
Yeah.
Not as a free surfer ever?
Right.
Let's say in the 80s. I'm just
right.
That
right.
was your
no,
decade.
that was your whole deal. Is like when you were a competitor back then, you just had to be thinking surfing, competing. You had to think exactly like what the judges are going to be looking for. You gotta focus on what they want to see you do, and then you want to execute and go towards that. So it was just about competition and competition only, and that's all that mattered.
Okay. Do you think how would you have surfed differently if you had the mindset you do today?
I would approach the wave differently. I would draw different lines. I would do different things. I wouldn't worry about body language or surf freer and more towards my mood. I always had a pretty relaxed style and pretty mellow. Yeah, you just, like, when you have a jersey on, you just, you automatically surf differently, maybe a little stiffer, maybe not as much style, and it's just so much different. And again, I love seeing people compete and chase that dream, but it was a lot different when I was doing it back then, and there's a lot higher stakes and bigger rewards now. But I just surf completely different now that I don't compete.
All right. We talked a lot about competitive surfing. I was not planning on this, but it was fascinating, actually. So, all right, now let's change gears. What about so you grew up in the South Bay? I saw a video of you surfing like Redondo Breakwater. What do you think of that wave? And do you like that wave?
Yeah, I do. I love the wave. The crowd's brutal there, because anywhere that there's a condensed takeoff zone, I won't surf anymore. Okay. So Redondo Breakwall was a big part of my upbringing. So was Hammerland, and I love those two waves. Nowadays with crowds, I won't go to Rincon, I won't go to Malibu, I won't go to Trestles, I won't go to Swami's. There's all these breaks that I won't get near now just because there's a condensed takeoff spot, and I just don't like getting claustrophobic and competing for waves. Half of my life I had to compete for waves.
Good point.
And I just I really enjoy getting away from the masses and crowds and whatnot. But yeah, Redondo Breakwall, it's an epic wave.
Does it get really good?
It really does.
Really?
In a big winter swell, it refracts off of that harbor there, and you get this crazy wedging, refracting left, and it gets pretty amazing, pretty real, really powerful. And I've had some incredible waves out there, and I've seen a lot of the people that I looked up. I've watched surf there. Yeah. It's an amazing wave.
So the first time you go out there, were you just getting the scraps? Were you known already at that point?
No, I was getting scraps, and you know, it's a wave
You
that
had
you
to
have
work
to
your way
earn the
up?
respect of locals, and you know, I'm still getting scraps no matter what.
Okay.
But and that's the approach I take. Everywhere I go, even to this day, I sit inside everybody and just go for scraps because I like to stay active and stay busy. I don't need the biggest and best that way. So
You don't want to wait 20 minutes for a wave?
No. In
Okay.
fact, if I go more than 3-4 minutes, I start tripping out, and I'll
Really?
I'll
That's a
go
full
inside.
cardio for you.
Yeah, I'll go inside and ride a closeout just to keep active.
Really?
Yeah, and loose.
Did you have any, let's go back to competitive real quick. Did you ever have any rivalries with anybody? Like you had to beat this guy, like you were just bummed at yourself or bummed at the world or whatever?
I don't think.
Nothing you can think of?
Not one particular person in particular. I think everyone was your rival.
Right.
You know?
And then, so Redondo Breakwater, would you consider that a heavy wave?
Yeah.
On a full-on swell?
Yeah, absolutely. Heavy, powerful, wedgy. It barrels, and it's a real wave.
What other spots in California would you consider like to be super heavy? Have you surfed Mavericks or anything? Have you been like a big wave guy?
No, I haven't surfed Mavericks. I do like big waves, but heavy waves, California, some of the reefs in La Jolla come to mind. Blacks comes to mind.
Yeah.
Gosh, I don't think Southern California has too many real heavy waves.
Yeah.
But you know, there's tons around the world. You know, I don't think of too many heavy waves in our zone really.
Yeah. What about going to Hawaii? Were you always looking forward to Hawaii?
Yeah. I went November and I stayed at a good friend's house at Backdoor. I loved Hawaii every single time I've been there, and that's been a lot. And when we were young, we were on the NSSA national team, and the first year in the early 80s, PT and Ian were our coaches, and they brought us out there. We were all young and, you know, 16, 17, 18 years old, and we get there, and we're staying at the Turtle Bay, and it was closed out, giant sunset. The whole North Shore was closing out, and
Is this upon arrival?
yeah, yes. So we show up, and we're like, whoa, okay. And then we thought we were going to go ride some little reform in Turtle Bay. And I'll never forget that they walked into our condo, PT and Ian, and they're like, okay, boys, grab your biggest board. We're going to Sunset. We're just
Really?
like, what? No, we're going to die.
Yeah.
So they forced us to go out there at Sunset.
Did anybody try checking out? You don't have to say any names.
Yeah, there's a few people that stayed inside, but
Okay. But they
never-
all paddled out.
Yeah,
at some point.
to my knowledge.
All right.
But I'll never forget, it was Richard Smith, Mark Richards,
Oh,
Bobby
geez.
Owens, and Sean Thompson. They're out there, and they're like, why are you guys out here? And we're like, we don't want to be out here. We have to be out here. The coaches, PT and Ian, made us be out there. But what it did was we all got thrashed, we all got worked, we all got some waves. But what it taught me was that, you know, to face your fears. And I was positive we were going to all drown and die. We didn't. Nobody did.
Yeah.
But from that day on, I actually really enjoyed big waves because I survived, and they pushed us a really big pipeline in Haleiwa. I have them to thank for. I still to this day I love being in big waves. I love the thrill. I love how it gets your blood going and the challenge and the excitement. It's thanks to them that you know, I still love big waves.
They paddle out with you guys?
Yeah, they did.
Wow. Did they show you how to do it, or were they just kind of?
No,
were they
those
ever
guys-
watching you guys, or you're on your own?
You're
always on your own.
They're
It's that
kind of.
big.
They kept an eye on us. And,
Okay.
You know, those guys knew what they were doing, and
Yeah.
they, you know,
Yeah.
comfortable in any size Hawaii. Those guys, you know, they have tons of experience, and we knew we were in good hands with them around us.
And that took some of the fear out, or not really?
It took a lot of the fear out
Did it?
because
Really?
after that day, we just realized that, like, okay, we can survive some of the heaviest, you know, North Shore that it can throw at you. It's clearly closed out sunset, and we were out there going, why are we out here? We shouldn't be out here. We're all going to drown.
Okay.
It worked out, and
Yeah.
because of that day, I absolutely.
Have you surfed Waimea?
Yeah, I have.
How's that?
It's solid. I had it on a pretty good, I had it on a pretty good sized day, like 20, 25 people out. Yeah, I would call it Hawaiian 20 foot. I borrowed Chris Frohoff's gun and went out there and dropped in on Sean Thompson, I think, and some other guys, and they were all dropping in on everybody. We all dropping in on each other, but it was a great experience, and I was glad that I was able to surf it.
When you surf YMN, it's that big, and you guys are dropping in on each other. It's all good, right? Or is there someone calling you guys off?
No, because it's just a drop. That's all that wave is. It's just a drop. So if 2, 3, 4 people drop in, big deal. No one's going to be bummed out.
Okay. All right. Anything else about Hawaii? Do you still like going on bigger surf?
Yeah.
You said you did, but
I
would you go out on YMN today?
Probably not because of the crowd.
Oh,
and
so back to the crowds. I gotcha.
Anywhere there's going to be like Pipeline, Sunset, Haleiwa, YMA, anywhere there's going to be a really good, solid, big swell.
Okay.
There's no no doubt it's going to be packed.
Yeah.
And I'm the kind of guy that would just go surf down the beach with a fraction of the quality, and just a few friends or myself, but. No, I wouldn't, but I do love still going there. I still love, paddling into a good-sized wave. I actually like getting thrashed by big waves because I've learned how to relax and let the body just take the brunt of the turbulence and everything. And I look at it as like kind of a massage, and I know how to. I know how to relax in an intense situation. Yeah,
it's different.
It's definitely a different way to look at it. But I absolutely love surfing big waves still, and unfortunately, we just don't have it that often. Yeah, if Waimea there's only 10, 15 guys out, I'd still go out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything about the warm water and stuff? Does that make it better?
Yeah, so the older I get, the older I get, the more I crave warm tropical water, and you just feel better. You feel your body feels better. Everything feels better. You're looser. You're more flexible. So I am definitely craving warmer water more and more as the older I get, and just the tropics. You feel way better.
Okay, and you have a couple kids, right?
Yeah. I have a 27-year-old son, Jordan, and he's a LA County fireman.
Oh, rad.
And I have a birth son, Matt Fairfax. When I was young, this girl and I, we dated. After we broke up, I found out that she was pregnant, and she decided that she wanted to give it up for adoption. So, his name's Matt, and he and I didn't know each other for like the first 21 years of his life. He's like 32 now. He looked me up, tracked me down in Huntington Beach when I lived there, and we have become really good friends. Taught him how to surf. And
rad.
I was with him on Sunday for Father's Day with my other son and my daughter. Yeah, it's cool because, he's got his parents who raised him, but now I'm involved in his life, and it's cool that we surf together all the time. We hang out, and he lives in Huntington. My son Jordan lives in Costa Mesa, and my daughter Avalon, she goes back and forth between Carlsbad here and also in Huntington. And so it's fun hanging out with them. Definitely, they help keep you young.
Okay. They all surf? Does your daughter surf too?
Yeah, she does.
Right.
She likes surfing out at Terramar, at San Onofre. She likes riding a longboard.
Okay.
And it's great. We were going to surf on Father's Day at San Onofre, but it's pretty blown out, pretty windy. And my other two sons paddle out. But it's cool that when her and I could paddle out, and it's being at Terramar right there. It's great for her because she likes mellow longboard waves, and it works out great. So. It's an honor to be able to still surf with all my kids, and whatever level, longboard or barrels or whatever. It's really cool. Actually, it's priceless to me.
Okay. And did they surf organically because they wanted to, or did you kind of help them along the way?
They surfed organically because they wanted to.
Okay.
I didn't push my daughter or my sons. When my son Jordan got into surfing, I was still competing a bit, and I kind of felt like I didn't push him, but he probably felt that I did. And I tell dads and parents all the time, like, don't push your kids, don't push them into anything, really. Let them do it on their own organically. But yeah, he competed a little bit, but Jordan got away from that pretty quickly and followed his passion and just became a fireman.
That's rad.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there's so much more to talk about, but I think, is there anything we're missing here? Oh, I mean, a lot. We're actually missing a lot, but it was great. I mean, thank you so much. And all your friends you grew up with, like in South Bay, and all your pro friends you've made through the years.
Yeah.
How many guys are you still serving with or in contact with? Do you still keep in contact with a lot of these guys?
Yeah. So I grew up in Manhattan Beach and still in contact with a handful of people. And everyone's gone everywhere, but...
is Manhattan Beach the same now?
No, it's changed a lot.
A lot, yeah.
Yeah, it's really developed, changed a lot. But I do have a lot of friends from there. Yeah, I try to keep in contact with as many friends as possible. And, a lot of people actually like to go surfing with friends, and I'm cool with that too, but I actually really enjoy surfing by myself.
I do, yeah.
It's really important to me, actually. And I'll go surf with friends, but I just like, it's so important for me to just be in my own world, my own space, and doing my own thing on my own terms.
Yeah.
But yeah, I try to keep, in touch with a lot of my friends I grew up with.
Okay. Any other hobbies? Since you got to move all the time?
Yeah, so I've always liked golf. I golf like once a week, and I like beach volleyball. And then my wife and I, about a year ago, got into pickleball, and we play a couple times a week.
That's rad.
Yeah, that's super fun, and we're meeting a lot of friends through pickleball.
Okay.
And another way to keep active. So we do that once or twice a week, and that's been super fun. And yeah, I really enjoy pickleball, and it's not too hard on the body.
Yeah.
So that's always a benefit.
Okay. And then actually one more question I have to ask you. So in the 80s and stuff, you were in the mags all the time. Was that like probably mid 80s, right?
Yeah.
Like every magazine you couldn't pick up without you being in there, right? Am I right, or is that just my assumption?
I had my fair share.
Yeah, you had a lot of pictures, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you probably, how do you put this? People knew who you were because of the mags and stuff. So maybe put you on a pedestal, or is that the right term? You were known.
Yeah.
Made you famous, or I don't know.
Yeah, I was definitely known. It was really cool to be able to see yourself in the magazines, and actually got on the cover of Surfing Magazine from Torrance Beach.
Really?
Yeah, I shot from
I gotta find that one.
from Peter Berlier, and got on the cover of Breakout Magazine a bunch, and Longboard Magazine a handful of times. Yeah, that was cool, and yeah, people, acknowledging that, or say they saw that or this or that.
Yeah.
And it's what's funny is sometimes people will send you, pictures from back then and just go, whoa, it's just like it's fun to relive some old times like that. But yeah, you get I guess from time to time I'll get people who say they know me that I've never met them or whatever. But no, it's an honor. It's a privilege to have that opportunity to get that coverage back then, and it's cool to look back at my portfolio and just relive some of those memories.
You still have the magazine?
What I've done is took everything out of all my clippings and photos and covers, and I put them into just one book, one little portfolio thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right on. Different. Yeah. And do you miss being on covers of magazines and stuff? I mean,
nah.
Those days are they're
I
fun, but they're over.
Right? Yeah, and I'm pretty low key. I mean,
totally.
I had my time in the in the limelight or whatever.
Yeah, limelight. There you go.
Yeah, so it was fun, but no, I don't miss it at all.
Right on. Yeah. All right, you got any final words?
I don't know. Just whoever's listening, I would encourage people just to be happy, be healthy, be positive, stay active, go switchfoot, enjoy the ocean, ride different crafts, and just do your best to be a great human being in this challenge world that we live in now.
Right on, dude. Good words. All right, everybody. This is Mike and Ted, and we're out of here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. Please follow us on Instagram and follow us on your favorite podcast platform. Give us 5 stars if you listen to us on Apple. And do me a favor and tell a friend that QuiverCast is back. I'd like to thank Glue Factory and Dave Hegstrom for the music. and I'll see you all in the lineup. Hey, you guys, Endless Summer box set. This thing is legit. It's authentic, numbered certificate in it. It has a 5-frame film strip from the original print. You will literally own a piece of history. It has a specially minted bronze medallion. Dude, that thing's sick. Okay, there's so much more here. Go to the show notes. There's a link on there. Go check this piece of history out. This thing's rad. Seriously. Smithsonian American History Museum has it. It took 4 years of research with 3.5 in production, all hand assembled. This thing's rad. There's so much to this awesome box set. Remastered DVD, sharper images than the original film, but dude, this thing's so sick. Link in the show notes.